Good thing this is not a competition. How do you follow that? Let's give Jackie Simone Elliott and Des Glover some more love. Good morning, Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living.
Good morning.
What an absolute joy it is to be in your presence this morning. I pause because I want to be present. I pause because I want to take this in. And I don't want to take this moment for granted. I want you to know that I see you, Seal Beach. I see you. And I celebrate you. This community has so much resilience and so much love. And there's nothing, no thing that's going to hold you back. And so what a great joy. I just want to thank you for inviting me into your house. Somebody like me who was born and raised in the Bronx, who lost her dad when she was 4. That's me. I lost my dad when I was 4 years old, struggling to try to find where I belong. My teachers would say, she's got so much potential. I remember running track and playing volleyball and bowling and playing basketball and trying to find that space and that place where I could fully express in my allness. And somehow or another still feeling so stuck and not able to fully express, only because no one ever taught me to really look within. I remember my mom watching Annette Funicello and Frankie, and they'd be on the beach playing bingo, blanket beach bingo or something like that. And I remember thinking to myself, while it's cold and snowy in New York, and it was all bright, sunny, and shiny in California in February, now that's for me. And I remember my desire to want to come out to California and live the life that I saw on television. It's interesting how we allow life and society to dictate or plant seeds as to what kind of life we want to live. But it's another, beloved, to actually sit and ask that indwelling power and presence that is your life, what is the best life for me? I could settle for mediocrity. I see it on television all day long. Even while I watch The Life of the Rich and Famous, I could settle for mediocrity. But what life has in store for me, what is for me, can only be discovered when I pause and do some examination. I could settle for what's on television or what my friends are doing. I can settle for all of that. Or I can have the entire warehouse. Or I can have the entire divine life that Spirit is offering me. The question is do I actually want to do what it takes to know what that is, or do I just want to settle for what's available? Now, I got to tell you that I prepared a totally different talk. And as I stand before you, this is the message that is coming forth. And somehow or another, as the amazing minister that I get to be, I'll tie it into the talk title and make it work. But what I'm being given right now is that too many times we settle for less. And it doesn't matter how long you've been breathing the air on this planet, that it's never too late for you to actually live the life that you've been craving and the life that you've wanted to live, and that you can experience the opulence, the joy, the peace, the love, the health, the wholeness that is the perfection of your being. Or you can settle for less. You know, this year we've been looking at every day, the extraordinary of living every day. And this month we've been supposed to be focused on the inner life. And today's talk title, as Lorraine told us, was Pause and Find the Cause. If you're not happy, genuinely happy, in this moment, pause and find the cause for that discontent. Now, our science of mind philosophy will tell us to turn away from it, not to look at it, and to actually focus on what it is that you want to experience. But there is also a part where we get an opportunity to look at the causes and the conditions of where we are. So if you're experiencing discontent, Ernest Holmes talks about that in our declarations of principles. Ernest Holmes speaks, he states so powerfully and so magnificently that he believes that there is a solution for all the discord in our life. And that to the degree in which we're willing to practice these principles, to practice our spiritual practices, to engage in the activities that actually bring us out of the depths of hell and into the glory of heaven. And I'm not talking about some place in the by and by, you know, when you're laid out and be like, oh, she's in heaven now. Or, oh, you know where he went because he was just a ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I'm not talking about them, beloveds. I'm talking about living heaven now. And that unless we are willing to do what it takes, we will continue to experience over and over again the discontent of our life. Many of us complained about COVID. Wow, what a great opportunity to go within. What a great opportunity to get so steeped in our spiritual practice that we emerge and go, thank God for COVID, because the world was going to hell in a handbasket. We needed that pause for just a moment. Whether we believed it was real or not, who cares? We needed the time to be able to not take life for granted. Even now when we're still masking up for a little while, let's not take that for granted. So back to within, because I only have a few minutes with you today, because it's Super Sunday. The reason to pause and look for the cause is because from the invisible becomes the visible. There was an idea in the mind of someone who created these beautiful chairs. It was invisible. And now you are sitting on the visible. And such it is with all life. The question then becomes, what are the invisibles that are occurring within me that continue to cause the outpicturing of what I like and what I don't like? And in particular, on the things that I am not happy about. Because somewhere in there is what's called a hidden belief. It's kind of like implicit and explicit. I like to get a little risque sometimes and talk about it in the sense of, I know I have biases and I have explicit biases, and you know about it because I'm going to choose the Rams. And that's my explicit bias. There's nothing implicit about that. I'm choosing the Rams today. Right? And then there are these implicit beliefs. These implicit biases, these ways of thinking that are so hidden that I don't even know that they're there. Sometimes they outpicture like this, and I like to no harm, no foul. If it's getting dark in the room, there's this hidden belief. It's so deep down within you that all you do is you go over to the wall, you touch that little thing on the wall, and lights come on. You don't even know that it's there. It's there. It exists. And it rules our life. Our hidden, our implicit beliefs rule our life. And if there is something that is outpicturing in your daily living that you're not happy with, it is in your best interest, beloveds, to pause and find that invisible cause that is wreaking havoc in your life and as your life. We want to do that just so that we can uproot it. And you could be angry about it too, like, oh, I am purposefully pulling you out. I don't want you in my life anymore. But we have to look. So many of us in spiritual community are doing this. And we're just hoping, wishing, crossing our fingers as if it's some voodoo magic that if I just have this positive thinking, that it's going to change. Positive thinking, beloveds, is not enough. I can't just positively think my life. Now, the thinking helps because that's the beginning of our belief. A repetitive thought is our belief. And when we think about how we've been raised and the thoughts that we've gotten from our parents, our schools, religions, society, they are so ingrained in us that sometimes we don't even know that they're acting as a law in our life. And the outpicturing happens over and over and over again unless we take a look. Unless we're willing to look. Without blame, without shame, bless mom and dad and our guardians and bless our teachers and bless religion and bless all of them for doing the best they could with what they have, but it doesn't work for me anymore. I don't like waking up feeling the knots in my stomach, worrying about where I'm going to get my next meal or if so-and-so still is my friend or not. I don't like having to deal with some of the things that I made up and then believe them to be true. Our problems are indeed of our own making, and we have an opportunity right now to pause and find the cause, uproot that cause, and begin to put something else in its place. Our creative process tells us that an idea or a seed is planted in the soil. And through some nurturing, right? You probably heard this last week. Through some nurturing, the seed produces the body. That is the creative process. That is what we teach day in, day out in spiritual communities like this. And it is the same with our very life. That obviously a seed has been planted. And sometimes they're not even our own seeds. Sometimes they're those volunteer seeds that, the birds just like, boop, boop. You call them weeds. Trying to yank them out, and they still keep coming back. Sometimes because of some misinterpretation, we plant seeds in our own lives and they begin to grow and flourish, and it's not even what we want. So we just pause. We just kind of go, let me look at my life. How are my relationships going? How's my health and wholeness? How are my finances going? How's my love life? How's my family? How's my career? And if I'm retired, how's my retirement career going? We are no longer victims. We have an opportunity to take a look now with a fine-tooth comb. See, at first when I came to Science of Mind, I had the rake. And that rake, the teeth were pretty large and far apart so that I can get all the big things, right? And now that I got all the big things, there's still debris left. And that rake just won't do. Why? Because the teeth are too far apart. So now I have to have a different instrument, a different tool, a different spiritual practice so that I can begin to get the smaller debris and the smaller debris and the smaller debris. So there is a tool for you. Wherever it is you find yourself on your spiritual practice. But just because you finish with the wide-tooth rake doesn't mean that your practice stops. Because you still got some debris. It means that now you get to practice with a different tool. A different opportunity is now presented to you to have an even more amazing life. Or you can choose to stop where you are. No harm, no foul. This is your life. You get to live it any way you want to, believe me. But I'm gonna bet here, because I'll make that bet that if you got up this morning, got dressed, put on your mask, and put on your Sunday best, and came and sat down in these chairs, I'm gonna bet that you want even more. I'm gonna bet that you don't want to settle for mediocrity. And so if that is indeed you, and if you're watching later on, for those of us who are live streaming, I'm going to bet that if you're spending time to watch and to listen, that you want more. And the more means that we must engage in daily spiritual practices to uncover and uproot those seeds that have been planted, that have been growing, that have been actually dictating and acting as a law in our life that we don't even like. Now, here's the deal. And I'm going to get even a little bit deeper here, is I am going to invite and seriously request that each and every one of us really begin to dig deep and not just be like, everything looks good over here, Ma. Because if everything's good in your life, great. But for me, until everything is good for all of us, then it's not good enough for me. Because in my cosmology, when it happens for one, it happens for all. There's only one life, one power, one presence. And that life is expressing beautifully and magnificently as you. And to the degree in which we awaken and we assist in the awakening of humanity to its spiritual magnificence, I cannot rest. I cannot rest until humanity is living the life that they want to experience. I cannot rest. I cannot rest when there's still belief in separation. Not just the separation that I'm separate from my God, from my higher power, from life, but that we're separate from each other. How could we sit and think, oh yes, my life is the life of God, and yet the minute we see someone who is different or who doesn't vote like we do or who doesn't sing like we do or who doesn't act like we think that they're supposed to act, all of a sudden now there's separation. I can't live like that. And it still lives in me, so I'm not preaching to you like I'm already arrived. It still lives in me. And as it lives in me, and as I try to eradicate those hidden beliefs about the other, those people causing wars, whatever I turn my nose at in disgust, I have to uproot that in me. But I'm not going to do that without encouraging you and asking you to join me in that. Because to the degree in which I continue to live that way, then what are we here for? Let's go home. Let's go home. What are we here for then? So I come from that place of recognizing that obviously those thoughts and ideas of separation, of less than, of greater than, of difference, and of you know when you make the face, you know when you're talking to your neighbor about, you know. That's what I'm asking us to uproot. And the only way that we get to uproot that is in our daily spiritual practice. And remembering that there's one power, one presence, one life. As many expressions. Why do you think I call people beloved? To remind myself of the truth of who you are. When that person is asking me while I'm stopped at the light if I can, spare a dime, a nickel, or whatever, I go, why certainly, beloved. Or I don't have anything to give you today, beloved, because I walked out without any cash. But beloved is coming forth because I'm remembering the truth of who they are. Not less than, not greater than, but that they are the unique and unrepeatable way that God is showing up in that moment. Yes. And that there's nothing that separates my life from their life. It is part of the one life. But unless I'm engaged in my spiritual practices on a regular basis, I forget. And I can't just come on Sundays to be reminded. It has to be a daily spiritual practice. I must engage in my spiritual practices of prayer. Prayer doesn't change God, oh, by the way. Prayer does not change God and doesn't say, oh, God, grant riches to everybody. No. Prayer changes my mind. Prayer reminds me of the truth of who I am and the truth of who everyone is. Meditation, when I sit and when I'm still and when I slow down and when I am silent and when I actually take away all of my social identities. See, because that's the part that gets us confused. And I'm going to start wrapping this up because I can be here for another week. But, and I did say it was Super Sunday, right? Okay. The thing is that we forget who we are. Everybody do this with me. That's sign language for forget. It's like the wiping of the mind. I forget who I really am. In California, they give you these real IDs, and it has your height, your weight, your race. It's got all kinds of information about you. But the truth is that that is not your real ID. In meditation, when you have an opportunity to sit for 20 minutes, just 20 minutes, take 20 minutes out of every day. You got 24 hours in a whole day. Just take 20 golly minutes, right? Good catch. And set aside your race, your age, how much money you have, where you were born, what degrees you have, your names, your titles, your religion. Empty out of all of that. What is left is spirit. What is left is this power and presence that is running your body, that is animating your body, that is moving your body and your functions. That is your real ID. Your accoutrements, your accessories are your race and your age and your sex and your gender and your orientation. All of that is just what is added to this body temple that we get to float around on earth with. But who you really are is spirit. And to the degree in which you recognize that that's the truth of who you are, it is to that degree that we awaken, and that then we assist in awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Do not be confused. So the invitation this week, beloveds, is to pause and find the cause. It's to pause, to engage in your spiritual practice. So you could help me. So we can help one another in creating a world that works for all. Know that you are loved.